Here we go. Yeah, and to get some of this data migrated while waiting for the stream to finish. Here we go. We have to put that slide all over there. Okie dokie. So there hasn't been much in the way of UI changes. There's only these two buttons here. Like earlier today, I was trying to fix this issue with like the ingredients and the input bugs. I can't quite figure out what the issue is, but it goes away if you hit the recalculate all button, because that, triggers everything to be recalculated. For some reason, the recalculate the current pool button doesn't fix it, but I just put it in there for when it eventually does. So let's have a look. Yeah, I could have put these pool ID change things in as well. I haven't gotten around to doing it. Right, so modular frame. Yes, we're going to be on the floor upstairs. So yeah, I said I was going to do this one backwards and figure out the numbers were correct that way. So on here we have 3 modular frame going to storage, 16.5 going to heavy modular frame. So that should be in the next one. And it looks like there's a new bug. The busy status isn't turning off. I put some code in earlier to take out some redundant status changes, because having the busy status turn off and on, off and on, off and on while I was like doing some semi-recursive like recalculation checks, it looked bad. But obviously, I've now ended up with an issue where the busy status gets stuck. See if just recalculating the pool works. So it does fix it. Just making a note of that bug. Recalculate all seems to leave. Busy status turned on. Just going to put a silly question in on the Slido. So 16.5, yep, numbers are good. Okay, reinforced iron plate's going to come from upstairs. But we also need to make the steel pipe. So that says 55. So 65, that matches up with what I've got on the signage here. So we can put that in. Do the same thing we did downstairs, where we put in the numbers from the front on as a calculation, rather than putting the raw number in. Can I just like manually remove that, or would it re-render with the thing on it? There we go. So we want 10 plus 55. We're going to send 10 to storage. There's 90, yeah. Put a copy of the current pools opt group at the top of the pool config drop-downs to make it easier to assign production to another pool in the same group. Oh yeah, I've still got to fix the issue with the models not opening as models. They just open. Let's put that bug in. Models no longer opening as model, just as normal dialogues. Okay, so we hit recalculate pool. Apparently I need to click it twice. Calculate pool seems to take 2 clicks. So yeah, that didn't fix that, but if I hit recalculate all, it'll run through like everything. And then should knock the steel pipes off the ingredients list. Except it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Yeah, there's definitely some delays going on here, because I've clicked on steel pipes and steel pipes is showing. But there's like a really noticeable delay for the actual UI render to kick in, because I've got 2 code paths for the rendering to kick in. It'll either say we need to render now, so the next time it checks for rendering, you know, it renders now, or it just says render eventually, which is usually what I'm doing inside the recalculation loops. The implication being that I am just like well, not necessarily me. The implication being that the user is expecting it to take a while. I might need to take that out or make it optional, because it looks like it's just going to create delays in the UI responsiveness once the calculation pool gets larger. Current deferred rendering approach results in lag for render updates on larger pools. Rename that to bugs and issues, because not all of these are bugs, they're just issues that need to be tackled. Okay, so steel pipes disappeared now. It just hasn't disappeared when I wanted it to. One of the things I might want to consider doing to change this entirely is, rather than having like all of these different DOM nodes rendered, because no, it's not really a good way to show it without setting up a new source. All of these pools are in the web page, and they're toggled by, well, currently toggled by setting a radio button to checked. That allows the pool switching to happen like quite responsively. There's just like a very slight delay there, which is minorly annoying, but there's a noticeable delay in response to changes over here, because this styling isn't tied to the contents of the DOM over here, so I can't be doing like fancy CSS shit with it like I am over here. Generally speaking, having a reduced DOM tree is good for browser performance, so it might be a good idea. The downside is if the app is being slow to recalculate shit, it would be slow to switch pools. So we'll have to figure some shit out. There's some HTML directives that might come in handy here. Anyway, continuing to go backwards. So we should have 97.5 steel ingots needed over here, which we do. We need to switch this to the... well, we're not switching it here because we're feeding stuff in, but we're going to be making 97.5 steel ingots with the solid steel ingot recipe. That's not good. Production flinging dialogue not opening as promptly as expected. This might have just been stuff that I broke earlier. Oh, hang on a second. Yeah, we need to actually add the parts first. But yeah, like the production flinging dialogue should have opened quite promptly. Right, solid steel ingot. And we're sending all of those to the steel pipes. And it looks like the UI is updated when it should have. So it's doing a it's the recalculation passes for interacting with the Fling production dialog should be deferred. Make the Fling production recalculation pass happen on next render, not current render. Well, I know what I mean. There's a thing in the code which basically says render now, and then you can also like do stuff after it because of the way the event loop works in JavaScript. It won't necessarily do a render now. But there's a specific function I've got in the UI code that says wait for the next render and then execute this code. Which is probably what I want to be doing here, where if I'm interacting with this dialogue, I want this UI to update first and then anything else to update. So hit recalculate all. It should get rid of the ingredients there. Right, next 4. Oh, is this empty? Yep. Alright, so we're just making adhered plate with a 2 storage and a 2 modular frame. Right, we're going to add a new group. Oh no, we've already got the group. Here's one we made earlier. So we want a new pool. Two modular frames. I've got to remember to do the same thing with the rubber up here that I did with one of the other ingredients to handle the overflow of rubber and plates. So we want to make 3.75 going to storage. And on here, iron plate. That's still flagged for stitched plate. That should be on our well, a note on our plate because I don't have any wire coming in. Although I've got ingots still flowing up. So I could if I wanted to, but I'm not. Anyway, what should it be making? Let's see. Should be getting 2 a minute to that one, 11 a minute to there, so it should be 13 a minute. It's signposted for 13. Let's check if the manifold is also for 13. So we have 2.6 a minute. Over 6. So that's 15.6. Oh, one's turned off. Okay, cool. So it is actually doing 30. Being weird. Now this isn't making anything else, it's just getting rubber and iron plate. I'm thinking that if I get this idea / feature put in where I want to have a total like a total production overview thing, saying, oh, some pools aren't getting all of the ingredients, here's the list, kind of thing. I think I want to add a little info button on the groups and possibly on the collections as well to get a collection or group specific overview. Let's see, add a info button on groups and collections to get an overview of production at the group / collection level. In addition, got separate two plans to add overall production view. Okay, so we're making our own steel ingots inside here. So that'll be oh, it's not separate. Oh, it's going to be two separate pools. Aha. Well, I'll say that. It could be two separate pools to mimic the actual manifold layout. Or it could be one pool, like one separate pool, and the two separate iron plate pools to mimic how we've done it elsewhere. I think for a change I'm going to try doing it as a setup to mimic what's actually built. Because that way, when like you do a graph view of the nodes, which that's gonna, it's on the to-do list. Like it's on the mental to-do list. It's not on the actual to-do list. Adding different data views for all of the data that we've got here. There'd be a graph view to indicate the relationship between production flinging. Like the source and destination pools, and you'd get a different graph view than what was represented in the actual game if I used one pool for both steel ingot manifolds. So we want steel ingots for storage plates. To storage. Steel ingots for rip plates. And then 2 rips. So we want to send 40 plates to, well, sorry, 45 plates to storage. Oh, there's a thought. Maybe add a pre-built lunar index for handling item search. Because at the moment the search just functions based on whether the search string exists in the lowercase version of the name of the item. The issue there is that means you need to wait for the names to load before you can start searching, which I know that makes sense from a user experience point of view. It makes perfect sense. Like, how else could you like show the names? The items are based off of their like class suffixes from docs.json. So one of the things that I could be doing here is, if I had a pre-built Lunar index where you input string, you would get out the like the class suffix, not the actual name. So then the search could actually function before the names have loaded. So if for some reason you want a really slow connection, that would mean you could search for items before images have loaded and before names have loaded. Which I would just find, personally, I would just find that amusing. Right, 50.25. 42 rips. Oh yeah, I need to set the actual correct recipe as well. Steel coated plate. So that means 7.5 steel ingot. Yep, that lines up. Yeah, so one of the reasons why it would be important to try and get the calculator to render only the current pool is because you've got all these DOM trees being updated on every render pass that you're not seeing. And given the way I'm using it at the moment, where I'm only like streaming for about an hour or so, I'm not even interacting with every pool, so the advantage of having every pool's calculations rendered, it's kind of moot. So one of the fun things I could do as a consequence of not displaying the other pools is not calculating them until you try to see them. Now the issue is that would only be a performance benefit for pools that are isolated from each other. Now in this case, I do have a set of pools that are isolated from each other. We've got the Space Elevator facilities entirely isolated from the main facility. So there's going to be no interaction with recalculation going on there. Strictly speaking, from a like a data structure point of view, there's nothing stopping that isolation boundary from being crossed. But it does mean that I could maybe add a function in for saying recalculate current collection, or recalculate current group. So you basically, you would do a thing where you input a pool and you have it guess what needs to be recalculated. And it would either be the pool itself if nothing affects it and it affects nothing, or it would be the group if it was like if the pools, like the set of pools that were impacted, were isolated to the current group, or it would be the collection if it's isolated to the current collection. And then past that point, you either say multiple collections, or you just give up and say just recalculate everything. Let's see. Maybe add code to detect recalculation isolation, well, production isolation boundaries that a method can return either a, well, one or more pools, one or more groups, one or more collections, etc., and have those isolated pools recalculated rather than calculating everything. Because one of the issues I'm having with my current approach with the single pool isolation thing is I'm only doing a backwards and forwards check. So I'm recalculating everything that feeds into it, and I'm recalculating everything that this pool feeds into. I had some semi-recursive code implemented earlier that basically did a full search, not just one step backwards and one step forwards. The issue is, to avoid infinite loops, I had to put in a check which said, oh, if I've already looked at this pool this pass, don't bother recalculating it again. Somewhere along the line that code went wrong and it got stuck in an infinite loop, and I was having too many issues I was trying to fix at once, so I just got shot of it once I'd committed the features that did work. So it's something to come back to again later. Anyway, so we need those 7.5 steel ingots, and we need them to go to storage. I think when I was testing this earlier, I was using such a small data set that I didn't notice that issue with the production flinging dialog. Of course, there's games auto saving. So my sign says 8.37. I've just realised I've got to update the signage, didn't I? I was making this whole point about me not having updated the signage, and then I forgot to update the signage. Right, we want 39 iron plate and 13 rubber. Because I don't have the plastic facility accounted for yet, this floor is now saying that it's producing heavy oil residue, which it isn't, because the plastic's coming from elsewhere. 8.375. Rips. So this 50.25 all needs to go to storage, and storage is going to handle the overflow, because that's the thing that we figured out the other night. What we were trying to do the other night initially was, oh, we'll send it separately. But that's not how the amounts of the code works. It has to overflow. So I should be able to go into here, get my iron plate count, and go into here. There we go, iron plates. to send those to modular frames. Right, then I've screwed something up here. So I should have 50.25 being produced in total on this side. Yeah. That shouldn't be shown as a negative. I think something's gone funky. So just hit recalculate all. Because it should be taking all of the 52.25 in the 2 storage floor, which should leave 39 surplus. But now that's saying that there's minus 35.25, I guess, a shortfall, which means that it's only getting 4. Something's not quite right. I mean, like, the input number there is correct. So I'm wondering if, like, the best case scenario here is just an error in the code that calculates, like, the remainder. The worst case scenario is it's actually submitting the input before it's getting the value. Now that says it's getting 3.75. If I accidentally sent the wrong stuff, yes, I've sent the wrong stuff. Oh, this is that 0 output bug again. Right. I think that's like enough to irritate the crap out of us to actually go and fix that. So there's a bug I already flagged where 0 output items get filtered from this drop-down dialog. So consequence of that means that I can't send the overflow of iron plates from, like, the 2 storage manifold to the 2 modular frames manifold on the production planner. Whoops. So let's do the usual checkout process before we sign off. Get that saved. I'll do an update of the site before I start tinkering for a change, just so if anyone wants to actually poke around what I'm streaming with here, they can. Let's see. Not TS, I want Prettier to update the syntaxy whatsits. Right, let's get this saved. Oh, there we go. So that's going to be all for now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.